Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Gary Lavoie on the line, and he's CEO of TruNorth.Tech. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Adam. We're excited to share the story.
All right, Gary. So big topic today. So we'll go into really the workers' compensation landscape, some of the ways that TruNorth.Tech is disrupting it. I see some of the things you're doing. I see how you're executing, and it's going to be interesting because a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives watching this right now. All right, I'll start this show like I start them all. Want to start with our signature question, Gary. So we at Mission Matters amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's our mission here. Gary, what mission matters to you?
Thanks, Adam. At TruNorth.Tech, we are on the global mission to deliver worker health advocacy as fast as humanly possible. That is our mission. Our focus at the onset is on the workers' compensation system because of the opportunity to make impactful change. Workers' compensation is just sort of challenged right now. It's experiencing a lot of tension, and we believe the industry is in this place because really, its fundamental measurement of success is actually creating a combative atmosphere with one of the system's primary stakeholders, and that is the worker. So this measurement creates an immediate, inherent, and constant tug of war between the system and the injured worker surrounding who gets more of the value. All of this produces a whole bunch of lack of trust and bias, which is now pervasive in the system itself, and it makes it exceptionally difficult to manage. So the algorithm at the heart of our technology actually helps to eliminate that bias while creating hyper efficiency and accuracy through the entirety of the workers' compensation system, which helps everyone save. And the technology is called INA, which stands for Injury or Illness Navigation Analytics. It's also the name of my great-grandmother's. She has a pretty cool story of redemption and hard work. She was abandoned as the youngest in a family of 8, but she persevered. She helped build a business here in Concord, New Hampshire, a moving business, and she just left an awesome legacy that was full of giving back. So we've named the technology after her, and she is the moral authority over our system as well, that we believe will change the work comp landscape and help future-proof our corporate partnerships.
Man, what an amazing story. I love bringing mission-based entrepreneurs and executives and organizations on the line. I mean, come on, name the technology after grandma. It doesn't get any better than that. I'm like, come on, this is amazing.
Fell into it.
So I wanna take a step back here. So we'll of course talk about TruNorth.Tech, and we will go further into the technology and things like that. But first off, like, how did you get started on this entrepreneurial journey, like and leading up to TruNorth.Tech?
Yeah, I'll be short and sweet with respect to my background. My educational foundation was heavy in mathematical economics, which arbitrarily landed me in workers' compensation, and I've just had intense system training since that time. And 3.5 years ago now, I got the entrepreneurial itch, and we started an injury advocacy firm named Tempest. And it's this place that is sort of the genesis of our technology. The people at Tempest are the augmentors of our augmented intelligence network. And Tempest is actually going to continue. Tempest is going to continue as a worker advocacy firm that is coming alongside of the technology and the industry itself to provide consultancy, troubleshooting, and overflow injury management support. That business is currently led by my wife, Laura Lavoie, alongside of John May, Marty McInnes, Mike, Claudine, Rachel, Craig, Chris, Evan, Rob, and they're just such a fantastic team. I want to make sure to give them a shout out.
That's awesome.
Now, by the time that this interview is released, we should actually already have announced the seed round fundraising close of TruNorth.Tech. This entity is sort of the fusion of my background and all of this intelligence at Tempest, along with the tech team that's now forming around the mission and the advisors, mentors, and board members that are supporting us.
Man, you're rocking and rolling over there. There's a lot going on, and we'll go closing
It's
the seed
moving.
round. We got, come on, it's good. This
Yeah.
is good. This is good. I like the momentum. I can feel it over here. So let's start with so workers' compensation. We
Yeah.
talked a little bit about what you're seeing in the landscape. I want to go a little bit further on that end because I don't want to assume that everybody watching really understands it. So even business owners that are paying for it, that are doing this, if you've never had a claim, if you've never been through the process, even as an employee on that side, to you, it's just a line item. To you, it's just another thing that you have to either pay into or get a payment from, depending on what side of the coin you're on, right?
Yeah.
So maybe give us a little bit of a feel for the overall product, how that works.
Yeah, like there is just a lot of distrust in the system and a lot of bias in it. And I think like the simplest explanation of that is if employers feel like they're paying too much for this thing, and
Yeah.
employees don't feel like they get served in it. So who's actually winning here, and do we have a systemic issue? Is
Yeah.
sort of the question. And there's actually a lot of things causing performance anxiety right now at the carrier level, at the administration level. Obviously, COVID has had a lasting impact, but there's also this other tug of war that's happening culturally within most carrier operations too, and that's this push and pull between the necessity of data utility and automation versus sort of the other side of the equation, which is staff that believe that remember how simple the system used to operate, and it's sort of that new school versus old school thing. The kicker here is that both of these things are right. Like both stakeholders are right. We need to build a new system driven by useful information that brings simplicity back into the administration of risk and injury management. And this necessity is actually driven by a larger problem, Adam. If we step back and we look at the industry in the aggregate, what we see is methodical growth and predictable performance over the last 2 decades. The industry is about $58 billion right now in written premium, and its performance hovers between like a 0.9 and 1.1 combined ratio, money in versus money out, right? The premium that's coming into the system and what we spend in it. If we actually dive into that spend too, it's also very predictable. The losses fluctuate, loss adjustment expense as a percentage has grown slightly, underwriting expense, like how we administer the system, it's all grown slightly, and dividend payments fluctuate, all that good stuff. But there's this, I call it a dirty little secret that I'm not sure that we're emphasizing enough in the industry, and that is that our claim counts are way down. For every $1 million in premium that we're writing, we're seeing sort of this annual decline in lost time claims, which is the unit we serve. Like the lost time claim is that thing that the system is meant to serve. And that's been declining by 4% over that same 2-decade time frame. So annual decline. So the question becomes, why are we still incurring so much expense? And it's in part because the claims that we do get are more severe. And the second part of that is that we are being wasteful. The administration of the system is too heavy. And those that actually work in the system know this too. They feel it every day in middle management oversight, compliance, and what we call administrivia. These things, along with that injured worker distrust and the resulting bias, it makes the job of working in the system not so fun anymore too. So we want to, this isn't just about creating worker centricity and building for the worker and the employer dynamic as well. It's about the stakeholders that are in the system. These are workers as well. And we need to recreate purpose in those jobs, because what they've become are in essence paper pushers and billers in the system. And we think we can change that.
Yeah, and I think you see this happen in a lot of industries, right? So even in different parts, especially in financial services. So it started maybe with banking or like some of the bigger players, to where you couldn't get a bank account unless you went into the bank and you filled out a paper application, right? Fast forward now, in many banks you can open online, no problem, easy, painless, right? Couple minutes, you're done. Then you have some of your internet banks that don't even have physical locations, right? So now I feel like there's been this trickle down effect just in general. Insurance too, like insurance used to be way different, and in many areas still are. And I just mean like life insurance, like regular life insurance, things like that. Like used to be totally different processes. But it seems to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, especially with TruNorth.Tech and what you're doing there, it sounds to me like what you're doing is you're bringing that disruption, or just bringing the technology and kind of having the workers' compensation side of things catch up to maybe what's been happening in some of the other tech or fintech or areas like that. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's workers' compensation is probably slightly behind the game a bit, and it requires some catching up.
Man, that's exciting though, because that's a lot of opportunity. And what you said to me in terms of claims, that 4% decline, what are some of the reasons for that? I'm curious. Or some of the things that have been talked about for that?
In large part, we have been doing a good job of servicing the employer and implementing sort of the loss prevention techniques that get out in front of claims that are happening. But that really we haven't really we've done an okay job, but we still have a ways to go in terms of impacting that trust gap that exists with the actual workforce, though, alongside of it. So we're seeing less claims, but the claims that do come in are a heck of a lot more severe. And I think that there's a logical reason for that. And that has to do with that distrust in the system itself.
Yeah. Makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's go further into TruNorth.Tech. So we've talked about it kind of a little bit so far, but I want to go deep here. So first off, just tell us about the company overall.
Yeah, so the company, as I mentioned, so it's sort of the technology, the genesis of the technology happened at Tempest, the intelligence behind the system, the augmentors of this augmented intelligence platform. But as we kind of had these ahas surrounding the change that can happen with respect to workflow and outcomes in the system itself, as we produce these aha moments, the necessity of bringing some additional expertise kind of came to the table pretty quickly. So TruNorth.Tech is the evolution of the technology that was born from Tempest, right? And alongside of this expertise that exists in Tempest, which is vocational expertise, occupational safety expertise, medical case management expertise, we're now aligning this with a technology team that has ample experience alongside of an advisory group that extends into orthopedic surgery and behavioral health elements as well. So the business itself is a function of all of these wonderful experts and a pretty phenomenal mission that we're on.
So what type of clients do you work with? Like, who gets the most value? Is this an enterprise solution only? Are small businesses able to participate? Like, give us a feel for who gets the most value out of working with you and your team.
So we do believe that everyone's gonna see value from the system itself. We're gonna have the opportunity to work with small and middle market type businesses through some of the carrier partnerships that we're going to develop, and we're also strategically going to connect with some of the enterprise level businesses that might have already made that move into the self-insurance realm and have administrators that are supporting the self-insurance of that workers' compensation risk, and we should be able to make a significant impact there.
What does it look like? So take me through kind of the user journey, let's say, of what it looks like to, let's say you're, large company, you're thinking about using TruNorth.Tech. What does that user journey look like to switch over? Because I know sometimes people are like, oh man, sounds good. I understand that, like, what this is going to be and what this could do, but like, how much time is this going to take me? Like, what does this look like? This is not, give me a little bit of that feel.
So this is the beauty of it. We really are plug and play because we're not dealing with any of the historical data that we see as being kind of fragmented and measuring the wrong outcome. We are bringing a new data set to the table, and we're going to do that by engaging in a partnership surrounding the injury management and advocacy of workers' compensation claims, which is a spend, Adam, that most carriers and administrators in the system are already experiencing. So we're going to be able to do that through a company like Tempest for less money than what they're expending now on the same service, and be able to deploy data that has leading utility right into the operation itself to make a cultural change and a technology transformation that kind of grows from within. That's the idea.
No, that's awesome. So it's going to be painless. It's not going to be this.
That's the short of it. It's going to be painless.
That's awesome. And so for some of these, as you go through and you start building out these other partnerships, as you mentioned, to serve different size companies, different segments of the industry, right? Is there any specific niche that you're focusing on in terms of industry or otherwise, or is this pretty industry agnostic? Anybody that could use, that's a good fit, I should say, that has, the workers' compensation side of things is potentially someone that could benefit.
Yeah, Adam, it is agnostic because the data itself is allowing us to be kind of hyper precise about where we deploy the services that help reduce this risk. And so that precision can extend through enterprise business down through middle markets and into express small business as well. So the answer to that is it is most certainly agnostic. What I will say is, you know, the folks that are dealing in construction and accumulating a significant amount of risk, like, are going to see an immediate impact. Manufacturers with significant risk are going to see an immediate impact in the data utility extending through how we manage the full scope of this whole process.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking construction as we're talking. I'm like, oh, that, because there's always that inherent risk. So I'm like, yeah, that's if you take some of this administrative and all the other burden that is typically in the system, and you use something like this, I can already see like that'll be immediately they'll get some value out of that. You mentioned earlier in the interview, kind of briefly, and I had to come back to it. So closing a seed round, tell me more about that.
Yeah, you got it. So as we kind of had those aha moments, we recognize that we have a build up in front of us, and we need to get moving and get this thing out to market and create the use. So we went to a couple of the partners that were engaged with Tempest right at the onset and kind of pitched the idea behind what it was that we were thinking of evolving into. And that just lit a fire. That lit a fire in our community. So we now have a group of investors here, and it's New Hampshire. It extends down into a couple of different areas surrounding some of the doctors that are jumping on board to support the mission as well. But we've created a bit of a movement here in our community with folks that are excited about being a part of this and pushing that mission forward. So we're fired up, and yeah, we're in the midst of closing this right now. So what you're experiencing is like manic CEO thing where I'm trying to be calm and presentable, but the truth is we're right in the middle of a whole host of change right now that we're going to be launching to the market here very, very soon.
Oh man, that's great. I love bringing a CEO onto this show for this type of interview right in the middle of everything, because then we can all look back in, you know, some years and say, man, I remember when you were just closing that seed round. Come on, Gary, like now you don't take my call anymore. What's going on?
Come on.
So as you like what you can say, I know because you're still in the middle of closing the round and all of that, like what are some of the plans for what you can tell us for expansion and like how you plan to use the money?
Yeah, really, this is about the tech build right now and developing a team that's going to support this, but expending that money into the future. Like where we're going to go is we're going to identify the additional, like the actual data set itself, Adam. It extends beyond. We start talking about worker health advocacy. That obviously extends beyond workers' compensation. So we have verticals in terms of other risk management entities where the data set can provide value, the workflow can provide value. And not just verticals in risk management either, when we can begin talking about career guidance solutions through the type of data that we are collecting in the algorithm itself. So we have some exciting things out in front of us. But we're going to spend that money on people to come jump on board and be a part of the mission.
Sounds like you're moving pretty fast. What would you tell the industry that's about to be competing with you when you're running on all cylinders here?
Yeah, my answer to that, Adam, is I tell them that we don't actually have to compete to make this change that needs to happen in the industry. We should do it together. I actually believe it's that important. So we want to work with carrier partners and administrators for enterprise businesses who desire to be at the forefront of technology optimization and the creation of a worker-centric process that values everybody. And if that's you, then we're ready. Let's go. We're creating innovations right now that are saving money and benefit the worker every single day, the worker and employer every single day. And we're just getting started. So that's what I would tell them.
All right, so I want to give ourselves just a moment to talk, let's just say aspirationally, right? I'm not going to hold you to this. I just want to know a little bit about your vision, right? Because I know right now you are laser focused on the workers' comp area and delivering for your employees, for your clients, for your investors. So, but let's give ourselves a little bit of a moment here. So workers' health advocacy, overall, this larger concept and theme, like what's your vision for that and how you may maybe have some effect?
Yeah, Adam, I see a day where it doesn't matter why an injured worker is going to be absent from work or need support. Like, well, and I say why. I don't think it matters whether that injury or illness is work related or not. There's no reason that we can't advocate for that individual right from the get-go. And I describe it as showing up at the front door. And my great grandmother used to drive this blue Cadillac around town, like showing up at the front door in Ines Cadillac and advocating for that individual right from day one to help them navigate through any of these worker health risk management systems. And we can do that with accuracy and efficiency if we work together in that way. And I'm excited about that time because we've seen the circumstances of this. Adam, I have a friend, Josh, that I played darts with down at the VFW, and he's a flooring contractor, and his back is busted up, right? And he can barely get through a game of darts with me. But he doesn't trust the system. He doesn't even want to engage it because he feels like his livelihood is going to be at risk. But someone like that risk is still accumulating, right? That risk is still accumulating. Someone's going to pay for it eventually. I think that's why we experience some of the severity in the system that we're dealing with nowadays. And we just believe that there's a much better way to mitigate that risk and provide something that brings value back to Josh and helps mitigate his health risk, because that's what we're in the business of doing, right? We are supporting his health risk so that he can continue to produce the floors that we get the pleasure of walking on, and we need to do a better job of that.
Oh, well said. That's well said. And thank you for sharing your vision there. So obviously a lot going on. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for TruNorth.Tech? Like what's next?
It's corporate partnerships. We're knee deep in kind of sorting out who and where and when and why, and we're excited about kind of integrating and going through this, getting our proof of concept. We're already proving right now through Tempest that we were already changing the landscape of how medical case management, injury management, and advocacy happens. We're exceptionally excited about proving that we can change the way this system is administrated and measured in a holistic way.
Fantastic. Well, Gary, just have to say it's been great having you on the show today. Love bringing amazing stories, and love that you named it after grandma. Come on, man, this is awesome. And I got to hear about the big blue Cadillac. I don't get that every day, Gary. You came with some great stories, and I appreciate you sharing that and sharing your passion for what you're doing over at TruNorth.Tech. And congrats again on all the success and for your investors and everybody else that's on this movement to really help workers, because that's what you're doing ultimately. Is advocating for workers and that bigger vision, and so that, like you mentioned, your dart buddy, so that people like that can walk, right? Because they feel comfortable to go in, because there is a cost for not getting something treated or something else because they don't necessarily trust the system. It could be walking, it could be a lot of other things. So by what you're doing, you are and will continue to change lives. So appreciate you sharing that story. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We definitely want you to be a return listener and a return visitor. And Gary, again, it has been a pleasure. So thank you for coming on the show.
You got it. Thank you, Adam.